The story of the boy and the king is one of the most poignant and inspirational tales narrated by Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. This profound story illustrates themes of faith, resilience, and the triumph of truth over tyranny. It is a timeless narrative that has been passed down through generations, offering valuable lessons for all who hear it. In this story, we encounter a young boy who, through his unwavering faith and bravery, challenges the oppression of a tyrannical king, ultimately becoming a symbol of divine truth and courage. In a kingdom ruled by a cruel and oppressive king, there lived a young boy known for his sharp intellect and keen sense of curiosity. The boy, who was eager to learn, sought knowledge wherever he could find it. His quest for understanding led him to a wise and pious monk who lived in seclusion at the edge of the kingdom. This monk was known for his deep wisdom and his unwavering faith in the one true God. Despite the risk, the boy decided to approach him, hoping to learn from his vast reservoir of knowledge. The monk, seeing the boy's earnestness and potential, took him under his wing. He taught the boy about the true faith and the ways of righteousness, emphasizing the importance of worshiping the one true God. The boy was a quick learner, absorbing the teachings with remarkable speed and understanding. He learned about the power of prayer, the virtues of patience and humility, and the strength that comes from unwavering faith. Under the monk's guidance, the boy's faith grew stronger with each passing day. He began to see the world through a different lens, understanding the divine order and the importance of living a righteous life. The bond between the boy and the monk grew, their relationship evolving into one of mentor and disciple, grounded in mutual respect and the pursuit of truth. Meanwhile, the king, who practiced a false religion and demanded that his subjects worship him as a deity, became increasingly paranoid about any threat to his rule. He had spies and informers scattered throughout the kingdom, constantly on the lookout for any sign of dissent or rebellion. It wasn't long before rumors of the monk's teachings reached the king's ears. The idea of a monk spreading a faith that contradicted his own decrees was intolerable to the king, and he decided to act swiftly. The king ordered his soldiers to find and capture the monk, intending to put an end to his influence. Despite the king's harsh decree, the boy continued to visit his mentor in secret, sneaking through hidden paths and dense forests to reach the monk's secluded abode. The boy's determination and bravery were remarkable, and the monk, sensing the growing danger, intensified his efforts to impart as much knowledge and wisdom to the boy as possible. One day, while on his way to visit the monk, the boy encountered a ferocious beast blocking the path of the townspeople. The beast was enormous, with sharp claws and menacing eyes, and it had been terrorizing the villagers for days. The people were terrified, unable to pass, and the path had become deserted, save for the boy who dared to tread it. Drawing on his faith, the boy picked up a stone from the ground and prayed to God for help. He asked for strength and courage, trusting in the divine power he had come to believe in so deeply. With a steady hand and unwavering resolve, he threw the stone at the beast. By the grace of God, the stone struck the beast with such force that it fell dead, clearing the way for the villagers. The townspeople who had witnessed the event were astonished by the boy's courage and the miracle they had just seen. News of the boy's miraculous feat spread quickly through the kingdom, reaching the ears of the king. Intrigued and suspicious, the king summoned the boy to his court, wanting to see for himself the boy who had performed such an extraordinary act. The boy, despite knowing the danger, went to the king's court, his faith unshaken and his demeanor calm. When the boy arrived at the court, the king looked him over, trying to discern the source of his strength and courage. The boy's calm demeanor and unshaken faith intrigued the king, who demanded to know the source of his power. The boy, unafraid and unwavering, proclaimed his belief in the one true God and attributed the miracle to divine intervention. The king, enraged by the boy's defiance and refusal to renounce his faith, ordered that the boy be subjected to severe punishments. The boy was thrown into a dungeon, his hands and feet bound in heavy chains. The king hoped that the dark and cold cell would break the boy's spirit, but he remained resolute. In the darkness, the boy prayed for strength and guidance, his faith providing him with an inner light that the king's cruelty could not extinguish. Days turned into weeks, and each day the boy faced new trials. He was starved, beaten, and subjected to harsh interrogations. Yet, despite the severe trials, the boy's faith did not waver. He continued to pray, seeking solace and strength from his belief in the one true God. Each time the king's men tried to break him, he emerged unscathed, protected by his unwavering faith and the mercy of God. The boy's resilience and the miracles surrounding him began to inspire the people of the kingdom. Whispers of the boy's faith and the power of his God spread among the townspeople, who began to question the king's authority and the false religion he imposed. The king, realizing that his power was being undermined, grew more determined to crush the boy's spirit and eliminate the growing threat to his rule. The boy's unwavering faith and the miracles that followed him became a beacon of hope for the oppressed people of the kingdom. They saw in him a symbol of divine truth and a testament to the power of belief. The boy's story spread far and wide, reaching even the most remote corners of the kingdom. His courage and resilience inspired many to reconsider their own beliefs and to question the legitimacy of the king's rule. Despite the king's relentless efforts to suppress the boy's influence, the boy continued to stand firm in his faith. His actions and the miracles he performed became a rallying point for those who yearned for freedom from the king's tyranny. The boy's faith had ignited a spark of hope in the hearts of the people, a spark that the king could not extinguish. As the boy's influence grew, so did the king's desperation. He knew that he had to find a way to break the boy's spirit once and for all, or risk losing his grip on the kingdom. The stage was set for a final, decisive confrontation between the boy's unwavering faith and the king's oppressive rule. The outcome of this battle would determine the fate of the kingdom and the future of its people. The king's fury knew no bounds. The boy's miraculous survival and the spreading influence of his faith had driven the ruler to a point of uncontrollable rage. The idea that a mere child could defy his authority and inspire rebellion among the people was intolerable. Determined to crush the boy's spirit and make an example of him, the king devised a series of increasingly brutal punishments. The king ordered the boy to be brought before him, and as the boy stood in the grand, opulent hall of the palace, the king's eyes burned with anger. The boy, however, remained calm, his faith giving him strength. The king, hoping to break the boy's spirit through sheer fear, began his series of tortures. First, the boy was tied to a large stake in the middle of the marketplace, where all could see. The king commanded his strongest soldiers to whip the boy mercilessly. The crowd gathered, drawn by the spectacle, their faces a mixture of horror and awe. Each lash that struck the boy's back was met with a prayer on his lips, a testament to his unyielding faith. Despite the searing pain, he did not cry out or beg for mercy, his silence a powerful statement of his inner strength. The people watched in silence, their hearts moved by the boy's courage. As the punishment continued, whispers spread through the crowd, murmurs of admiration for the boy's resilience, and questions about the faith that gave him such strength. The king, noticing the growing sympathy for the boy, grew even more enraged. He could see that his plan was backfiring. Instead of breaking the boy's spirit, he was becoming a martyr in the eyes of the people. Next, the king ordered that the boy be thrown into a pit filled with wild beasts. The pit was deep, its sides steep and impossible to climb. It was a place where prisoners were sent to meet a gruesome end. The people gasped as the boy was pushed into the pit, and the beasts began to circle him. The king watched with a sinister smile, certain that the boy's faith would finally be shattered. But as the beasts approached, the boy knelt down and prayed. His calmness in the face of such imminent danger was astonishing. Miraculously, the wild animals, instead of attacking, lay down peacefully around him. It was as if a divine presence had tamed their savage instincts. The crowd gasped in amazement, their awe transforming into a collective murmur of belief in the boy's God. The king was beside himself with rage. His attempts to break the boy's spirit had only served to strengthen his influence. Desperate to regain control, the king devised an even more diabolical plan. He ordered that the boy be tied to a large stone and thrown into the deepest part of the ocean, believing that this would surely end the boy's defiance. The soldiers took the boy to the shore, where a large crowd had gathered to witness the grim spectacle. The boy was bound to the stone, and the soldiers began to push it towards the edge of a cliff, overlooking the turbulent sea. As they prepared to cast him into the water, the boy prayed once more, placing his trust in God's hands. As the stone plunged into the water, dragging the boy with it, the crowd held its breath. Moments passed, and just when it seemed certain that the boy had met his end, a wave surged, lifting the stone and the boy to the surface. The bindings miraculously loosened, and the boy was carried gently to the shore by the waves. He emerged from the sea unharmed, his faith once again proving unshakable. The people, witnessing yet another miracle, were filled with an overwhelming sense of awe and reverence. Many openly proclaimed their belief in the one true God, inspired by the boy's unwavering faith and the divine interventions that had saved him. The king, watching from the shore, felt his grip on power slipping away. His subjects were no longer afraid of him. Instead, they were drawn to the boy's God, whose power had been so clearly demonstrated. The king knew he had to act quickly to regain control. In a final, desperate attempt, he decided to consult with his closest advisors and devise a plan that would end the boy's influence once and for all. He called a secret meeting in his palace, where he laid out his next move. The advisors, sensing the king's desperation, proposed a public spectacle that would leave no room for doubt about the boy's fate. The king ordered that a large arena be prepared for the execution. It was to be a grand event, attended by all the nobles and the common folk alike. The boy would be tied to a stake in the center of the arena, and archers would be instructed to shoot him with arrows. The king believed that a public and brutal execution would finally break the people's fascination with the boy and restore his own authority. As the day of the execution approached, the boy remained calm and composed. His faith was stronger than ever, and he accepted his fate with grace. On the day of the execution, the arena was filled to capacity, the air thick with anticipation. The boy was brought out, and the crowd fell silent, their eyes fixed on him. Before the execution commenced, the boy, sensing the significance of the moment, addressed the crowd. He told them that his faith had brought him this far and that he was ready to meet his end if it meant that the truth would be revealed. He then advised the king to say, "In the name of the Lord of the boy," before shooting the arrow. Reluctantly, the king followed the boy's instructions, desperate to see him dead. As the arrow was loosed and struck the boy, he fell to the ground. The crowd was silent for a moment, and then a collective gasp rose as they realized what had happened. The boy had sacrificed himself, but in doing so, he had achieved something profound. The people, moved by his sacrifice and the invocation of the true God's name, began to openly declare their faith. They proclaimed their belief in the one true God, and the king's power was irreversibly shattered. In his death, the boy had accomplished a monumental victory. His unwavering faith and ultimate sacrifice had led to the enlightenment and liberation of an entire kingdom. The king, defeated and powerless, watched as his subjects turned away from him and embraced the faith that the boy had so valiantly defended. The boy's legacy lived on, inspiring countless individuals to stand up for their beliefs and to find strength in their faith. His story was told and retold, becoming a symbol of divine truth and the triumph of faith over tyranny. The kingdom, once ruled by fear and oppression, was transformed by the light of faith and the power of belief, all thanks to the courage and sacrifice of a young boy who never wavered in his devotion to the one true God. The king's desperation reached its peak. He could no longer tolerate the boy's defiance and the growing rebellion among his people. The boy's unwavering faith and the miracles that surrounded him had not only threatened the king's authority, but had also ignited a spark of hope among the oppressed citizens. The king knew he had to take drastic measures to restore his rule and eliminate the boy once and for all. After consulting with his advisors, the king devised a final, cruel plan to break the boy's spirit and crush the burgeoning rebellion. He ordered his soldiers to bring the boy to the palace once again, and this time he would ensure that the boy would not survive. The king decided that the boy would be thrown from the highest cliff in the kingdom, a place known for its treacherous rocks and violent waves below. The fall would surely be fatal, and the public execution would serve as a dire warning to any who dared defy him. The boy was brought to the cliff, surrounded by a heavy guard. The townspeople who had heard of the king's plans gathered at the foot of the cliff, their hearts heavy with fear and sorrow. They watched in silence as the boy was led to the edge, his hands bound and his face serene. The king, standing at the precipice, looked down at the crowd below, and then at the boy. "Do you still hold on to your faith?" the king sneered, hoping to see fear in the boy's eyes. But the boy looked back at him, his gaze steady and calm. "My faith is stronger than ever," the boy replied, his voice clear and unwavering. "You may take my life, but you cannot take the truth from the hearts of the people." The king's face twisted with rage, and he signaled to his soldiers. They pushed the boy over the edge, and he fell, his body tumbling towards the jagged rocks below. The crowd gasped, and many turned away, unable to watch the tragic scene unfold. But as the boy fell, he prayed, placing his trust entirely in God's hands. In that moment, a miraculous thing happened. A gust of wind caught the boy, slowing his descent and gently carrying him to the ground. He landed safely, unharmed by the fall. The people witnessing this incredible event erupted in cheers and praises for the boy's God. The king, watching from above, was struck with a mix of fear and disbelief. His plan had failed spectacularly, and the boy's survival only served to strengthen the people's faith. The king realized that his power was slipping away, and he was more desperate than ever to find a way to end the boy's influence. Determined not to be defeated, the king ordered that the boy be brought back to the palace. This time, he decided he would oversee the execution personally to ensure that there would be no miraculous escape. He commanded his soldiers to prepare a large bonfire in the palace courtyard. The boy would be tied to a stake and burned alive, a public spectacle meant to finally break the spirit of the people. The boy was brought to the courtyard, where the massive pyre had been constructed. The flames roared, casting a hellish glow over the gathered crowd. The king addressed his subjects, proclaiming that this was the fate that awaited all who defied his rule. The boy, however, remained calm, his faith unshaken even in the face of such a gruesome end. As the soldiers tied the boy to the stake, he prayed silently, asking God for strength. The flames began to rise, licking at the wood and inching closer to the boy. The heat was intense and the crowd watched in horror, many of them praying for a miracle. Just as the flames seemed about to engulf the boy, a sudden downpour began. The rain fell in torrents, extinguishing the fire almost instantly. The boy stood unharmed, the stake wet and charred but intact. The people, once again witnessing a miraculous event, fell to their knees, praising the boy's God and declaring their faith openly. The king, drenched and humiliated, was at a loss. His every attempt to break the boy had only served to strengthen the people's faith. In a final act of desperation, the king devised the ultimate test. He ordered that the boy be tied to a stake and shot with arrows, believing that this method would leave no room for miraculous escape. The boy was brought to the palace once more, and the king's archers prepared their bows. The people gathered, their hearts heavy but filled with a sense of reverence for the boy's courage and faith. Before the execution commenced, the boy, sensing the significance of the moment, addressed the crowd once more. "I accept my fate," he said, his voice strong and clear. "But know this, my death will not be in vain. My faith is a testament to the one true God, and my sacrifice will inspire you to stand up for what is right." The king, eager to see the boy's end, ordered the archers to aim. The boy then instructed the king to say, "In the name of the Lord of the boy," before releasing the arrows. Reluctantly, the king followed the boy's instructions, hoping that this final act would end the boy's defiance. The archers released their arrows and one struck the boy. He fell to the ground, succumbing to his injuries. For a moment, the crowd was silent, the weight of the boy's sacrifice hanging heavy in the air. Then, as if moved by a collective realization, the people began to declare their faith in the one true God, inspired by the boy's unwavering belief and ultimate sacrifice. The king, witnessing the outpouring of faith and the collapse of his authority, knew that he had been defeated. The boy's death had only served to strengthen the people's resolve. His spirit broken, the king retreated to his palace, his power irreversibly shattered. In the aftermath of the boy's sacrifice, the kingdom underwent a profound transformation. The people, inspired by the boy's courage and faith, began to openly practice the true faith. The boy's story spread far and wide, becoming a symbol of divine truth and the triumph of faith over tyranny. His legacy lived on, inspiring countless generations to stand up for their beliefs and to find strength in their faith. The kingdom, once ruled by fear and oppression, was transformed by the light of faith and the power of belief. The boy's courage and sacrifice had liberated the people, showing them that truth and faith were more powerful than any tyrant's rule. The story of the boy and the king continues to inspire countless individuals, reminding them of the enduring strength of faith and the power of standing up for what is right.